This is the second half of section 1.8. So the first half, or the first little part, is exponents. The majority of section 1.8 is on order of operations, and this is where we really have to focus and make sure we can totally understand how to follow the order of operations. So you might have heard of this before. Some students say this is PEMDAS, just sounding out the letters, PEMDAS. When I learned it, we learned please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and those are the letters PEMDAS. So PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. It is what we call the order of operations. Someone decided this is the order we work our math problems in. And so it's been decided, and this is the order we follow. So the P stands for parentheses. We kind of talked about this when we were learning how to multiply. We perform any operation inside parentheses first. The E stands for exponents. We perform any exponent operation next. So if it's to the third power or second power or whatever power, we work that next. The M stands for multiply. The D stands for divide. We multiply or divide whichever comes first from left to right. For me, that's the trickiest step. I have to slow down and remember, multiply or divide whichever comes first from left to right. I have a bad habit of multiplying first and then dividing, but that's not how it works. It's multiply or divide from left to right. Same thing on the last two. The A stands for add, the S stands for subtract. And again, it's add or, oops, I added an extra S. Add or subtract from left to right. So it's whichever one comes first from left to right. Sorry, I spelled subtract wrong. I always do that. Subtract. There we go. So when I was a student, I was like, does it really make a difference? Isn't the math is the math, and that's all there is? So I just have a quick example of, yes, it really does make a difference. Here, if I just work from left to right, if I do 4 plus 2, I get 6. And then if I multiply by 3, I get 18. I've done every operation correctly. I didn't do anything wrong. I worked from left to right. If I follow the order of operations, it tells me to do my multiplication first before I add. So if I do my multiplication first, 2 times 3 is 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. Those are totally different answers. I didn't do anything wrong. I did the math correctly. Here, I followed the order of operations. Here, I just went from left to right. So this is just a quick example to show, yes, it does really make a difference. And your answers will be totally different if you do not very carefully follow the order of operations. So I'm going to leave that out. And the last page of your notes is a very large set of examples on order of operations. We're just going to work through these very carefully and very slowly. You don't want to rush through these problems, because if you do not follow the order correctly, you will be way off, even though you technically did all of the math correct. So let's look at the first example up here. 12 divided by 6 times negative 3. Now it's very tempting. The parentheses draw our attention, so we see those parentheses. But remember, we only do the parentheses if there's an actual operation inside those parentheses. Sometimes there is, sometimes there is not. In this example, there is not an operation inside the parentheses. It's just indicating multiplication. So we go down to exponents. There are no exponents. We go down to multiply or divide from left to right. So we start at the left. We're going to do 12 divided by 6 first. That's 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. If you do the multiplication first, your answer will be totally different. Alright, next one. 10 minus 30 divided by 2. According to the order of operations, we're going to do the division first and then the subtraction. So it's kind of awkward because we're kind of ignoring the 10 minus, not doing anything with it, and jumping straight to the division. So 30 divided by 2 is 15. Now we're going to do 10 minus 15. Remember we learned with subtraction we do keep, change, change. So keep, change, change. And our final answer should be -5. I like to put a box around my final answer just so I know that I'm done. So that might be something you like to do. When you finish working a problem, put a box around your answer. Alright, the next problem we have -1 plus 15 minus 7 minus 7. Just adding and subtracting. So we're going to add or subtract from left to right. So -1 plus 15 is 14. 14 minus 7, we'll do keep, change, change, or you can just subtract. Keep, change, change, well that's +7. Then we'll bring down the next minus 7. Well, 7 minus 7 is 0. Even if you do keep, change, change, it's still 0. So the final answer here is 0. If you work this in a different order, you'll get a different answer. And I know how frustrating that is. Alright, the next set. We have 9 plus -5 plus 2. So just a bunch of adding. We're going to go left to right. 9 plus -5 is 4. Then plus 2, 4 plus 2 is 6. Not too bad, left to right. The next one, here we go again, just like the first one. Our eyes are drawn to the parentheses, but there's not an operation inside those parentheses, so we're not going to do anything with that. We're going to focus from left to right. -18 divided by 9, which is -2, times -4, which is +8. Carefully working through these. The first time I taught this course, I got so frustrated because I was not carefully working from left to right. I just did whatever operation I wanted to do first, and it does not work out to be the same answer. Alright, 10 minus 5 squared. So the exponent squared comes before the subtraction. So we're going to leave the 10 minus alone. 5 squared is 25. So we have 10 minus 25. We're going to do keep, change, change. It becomes 10 plus -25, which is -15. So carefully working through using the order of operations. Let's do the next set. These are going to get a little more involved. 10 minus 5, and on the outside of the parentheses we have a squared. This means we're going to do the operation inside the parentheses first. 10 minus 5, which is 5, or you can do keep, change, change. Then we'll take that 5 and we'll square it. 5 squared is 25. So parentheses operation first, then our exponent operation. We have here 2 minus -5 plus 3 squared. We start with the 3 squared because it's an exponent. So we leave 2 minus -5 plus 3 squared is 9. Now we just have adding and subtracting, so we work from left to right. We're going to do keep, change, change. 2 plus 5 is 7. Plus 9 is 16. So we're carefully working, just like we talked about before. Show those layers, show those steps, so that you're not trying to hold all of this information in your head. Alright, this one's a little more involved here. We've got parentheses, and we have an operation inside those parentheses. So we're going to do that first and leave everything else the same. 3, 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 20 divided by 4. Still a lot going on that one. My next move is multiplication or division from left to right. So 3 times 6 is 18. The plus is going to stay there. I'm skipping over the addition, and I'm going to do 20 divided by 4 because that comes first before addition. Multiplication or division first. So the plus sign stays. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 18 plus 5 is 23. So that's one example of where you can really get off if you're not strictly following the order of operations. Moving right along. You can, if you would like to, you can pause the video and try it yourself, and then go ahead and play and see if you're correct. I'm just going to keep on working through these, but if at any time you want to pause and try on your own, you're more than welcome to do so, and then you can play and see if you're correct. So if you're feeling pretty good about this, go ahead and pause, then try it yourself, and then see how you did. Alright, so for this one we have 4 times 1 plus 8 parentheses 9 minus 2. This set of parentheses does not have an operation inside of it. This set does. So we're going to do 9 minus 2 first. We can use keep, change. 4 parentheses 1 plus 8 parentheses 9 plus negative 2 would be 7. Now we just have two sets of multiplication. 4 times 1 is 4. Skip over the plus sign because adding goes last. 8 times 7 is 56. Now we do the addition. 4 plus 56 is 60. So again, don't try to do all of that in your head. I can't do all of that in my head. Just write down each step, one procedure at a time. Let's try another one. We have 2 plus 40 divided by parentheses negative 5 plus 3. I'm going to leave everything else alone. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Division comes before addition. So we're going to do the 40 divided by negative 2 next. Leave the 2 plus alone. 40 divided by negative 2 is negative 20. Now we're going to do 2 plus negative 20, which is negative 18. So I'm using my skills from adding and subtracting, positives and negatives, all of the skills we've learned throughout this chapter all come together for order of operations. Alright, the next one. 3 times 3 minus 10 times 3 divided by 5. So this 3 times 3 is just multiplication minus. 10 times 3 is inside parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and do 10 times 3, which is 30, divided by 5. Now I have multiplication and division. I'm going to skip over the subtraction. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 30 divided by 5 is 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. And you can still do keep, change. And the answer is 3. Hopefully this is starting to make sense following the order of operations. We have one more set. Alright. Six squared. So we have 6 squared divided by negative 4 times negative 3. We're going to do 6 squared first, which is 36, divided by negative 4 times negative 3. Now be very careful on this one. I have screwed this one up several times. Remember, this only indicates multiplication, and we do multiplication or division from left to right. So it seems weird, but we're actually going to do 36 divided by negative 4, which is negative 9, and multiply that times negative 3. It is so tempting to multiply those together. I've done it several times, but that is not the order of operations. It's left to right. Negative 9 times negative 3 is positive 27. Very, very carefully work through these. I go too fast and then I screw them up. So just really take your time. Learn from my mistakes to not rush through these. Then we have negative 4 squared minus 3 squared, parentheses, 5 minus 2. Lots going on here. We're going to start with those parentheses. We have negative 4 squared minus 3 squared. 5 minus 2 is 3. And you can do keep, change if you like. And then we're going to do our exponents. Negative 4 squared is positive 16 because it's negative 4 times negative 4. Minus 3 squared is 9 times 3. And again, we do our multiplication next. 16 minus 9 times 3 is 27. 16 minus 27, we can do keep, change. And that should give us a negative 11. Remember, we don't have our calculators, so please do not use your phone when you're trying to work these out. If you need to, on your scratch paper, you can work them out, but please do not use your phone, especially while you're trying to practice. Alright, and the last one here, we have 30 divided by negative 5 minus 36 divided by negative 9. So let's see, no parentheses, no exponents. We're going to do 30 divided by negative 5, which is negative 6. Leave this minus alone. 36 divided by negative 9, which is negative 4. So be careful there. You have the minus that was originally in the problem, and this result is negative. So you have minus a negative. This is where students get super frustrated because you have to keep up with all these little symbols. So we have negative 6 minus negative 4. We're going to do keep, change. So it becomes negative 6 plus positive 4, which is negative 2. So very, very carefully, very slowly, one step at a time. A lot of my students, when they're working these problems, they'll write PEMDAS at the top of their page. Some like to write it vertically with the M and the D next to each other and the A and the S next to each other. That is how I would recommend to write it down. Parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. So I recommend at the top of your page when you get to this part, just write PEMDAS in this format so you don't lose track. You might have noticed a couple problems at the bottom of the page that look a little insane. My students always do not like these last two problems, but I want to go through them. They're not as bad as they look. It's just, again, following order of operations. Make sure you can see that. What we're going to do is work the entire top of the problem as if the bottom is not there. Then we will work, and we'll get an answer. And then we'll work the bottom of the problem as if the top's not there, and we'll get an answer. Alright, so ignoring the bottom, we have 5 squared. We're going to work that first. I'm going to work that down here. Negative 1 plus 5 squared, which means 5 times 5, which is 25, minus negative 3. Now we just have adding and subtracting left. So negative 1 plus 25 is 24. Then we can do keep, change. So it's going to become plus 3. And the top number is 27. So you just work it out as if that's the only part, get an answer, and jot it down on top. Now you're going to work the bottom as if that's the only part and get an answer. So I'm going to bring that down here. Negative 6 minus 9 plus 12. So we'll just work left to right because it's just adding and subtracting. Keep, change, change. Negative 6 plus negative 9 is negative 15. Plus 12 gives me negative 3. So negative 6 minus 9, I do keep change, change to get negative 15. Plus 12 is negative 3. I will go ahead and put that negative 3 on the bottom. And then my last step is to do the division. 27 divided by negative 3 is negative 9. So these look really crazy, but you just work the top, get an answer, work the bottom, get an answer, and then divide. One more time. Negative 6 plus 3 squared minus negative 7. So that'll be negative 6 plus 9 minus negative 7. Negative 6 plus 9 is 3. I'm going to do keep, change, change to make it plus 7. And the top works out to 10. If I went too fast, just pause the video, try it on your own, and then play the video, and you can watch my steps again. On the bottom, we have 7 minus 9 minus 3. So I'm going to do 7 minus 9, keep, change, change. That makes negative 2. Minus 3, again, keep, change, change. That makes negative 2 plus negative 3, which is negative 5. And that goes on the bottom, negative 5. Positive 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. So just take your time, just work the top, get an answer, just work the bottom, get an answer, and then divide. So that is order of operations, and we'll practice that in class.